Okay, so after the lab yesterday, I thought I'd go over a couple of things to make sure you are filling out your data table correctly. So, and I took some pictures of what should be happening in your test tubes as you did each reaction. So, this was the first reaction, and you can see up here the reactants, and then here we have the products. Okay, and you are supposed to predict the other product here. So when you're doing that, like I told most of the classes, you're taking the cation of each of the reactants and you're swapping places. So copper moves to hydroxide and sodium moves to the nitrate. So it lists the copper 2 hydroxide here. So sodium nitrate would be your other product. Okay. And then when you combined the copper 2 nitrate and the sodium hydroxide, which was a light blue liquid and a clear liquid, this happened. Okay, this is two pictures of the same reaction, so yours might have looked a little different, but there was a precipitate. Okay, a precipitate is the solid, the supernatant is the liquid, and you were supposed to answer where gases formed. All right, this is all just observations of the products, what you see. You're not telling me what it is. You're just telling me what you see. So we have the blue down at the bottom. This one has 3 layers, okay? But the blue at the bottom is the precipitate in this picture. And then it looks like almost like you got a white precipitate and a blue precipitate in the middle. Okay, so that's how you would describe, depending on what yours look like, that's how you would have described the precipitate. I would have said a blue, precipitate, okay? And you'd write it out there. You probably have more room than I do. And then the supernatant is the liquid. So the liquid is what's floating on top of the precipitate. So in this case, it's just a clear liquid. So clear supernatant. And then where gases formed. No, there were no bubbles, so there were no gases formed. And then you were supposed to touch the test tube and see if it got hot or not. If it got hot, then it was heat. There was heat in the reactant. In the product because it was produced. And if it got cooler, it had heat as a reactant, or you added heat to make the reaction occur. Okay, and then you had to fill in the type of reaction. So I'm going to leave the rest up to you, figuring out the type and was heat a reactant or a product. Okay, so that was the first one that you did. The second reaction was the decomposition of copper 2 hydroxide. This is when you took your test tube and you put it into the hot water and let it sit and stirred it for a little while to see what would happen. And it turned black, okay, as in the picture here. So this was copper 2 hydroxide and heat, okay? Heat is not actually part of the, atoms rearranging, so you would pretend that isn't even part of the equation. So you technically only have one reactant and you have 2 products. So that should help you figure out the type of reaction this was. And it's copper oxide and water. Now, you know now what the precipitate is and what the supernatant is. And you can definitely see the precipitate down here and the supernatant up here. And you can describe them. So this would be a black precipitate and a clear supernatant, which water is clear, so that's probably water that we see as the supernatant. You don't have to identify it. You just have to write your observations down, but you should start trying to link it to what the products are. And were gases formed? There were no bubbles, so no. And then you fill out the rest. I'm not giving you all of the answers in this. So that was the second one. The third one was copper 2 oxide and hydrochloric acid. So after you did the copper 2 oxide, or got the copper 2 oxide, the black copper 2 oxide, you added hydrochloric acid. And when you did this, everything should have redissolved, and it should have been a blue, like a light blue, clear liquid. Okay, so there's no precipitate in this. And the supernatant is a light blue. Okay, and were gases formed? No, no gases were formed. Now this one you had to predict the product. Again, we have copper and oxygen. This one, hydrochloric acid, is HCl. So what's happening is the hydrogen and the copper are switching places. So you work it out, and I'm going to let y'all figure that product out this time and make sure, you write in your own products. I have to let you do some of this yourself, but that's how you would do that. And then the fourth and fifth were happening at the same time. This is the copper 2 chloride and aluminum, and the hydrochloric acid and aluminum. So when you put the aluminum stick in there, there was copper 2 chloride and hydrochloric acid, and the reactions happened at the same time. So again, you are predicting a product here and here, here and here, based on the reactants. It's single replacement, so the copper and the aluminum switch places. And then hydrochloric acid is HCl, so hydrogen and aluminum swap places. So you figure out the products, write them down, and then these are some pictures underneath here of what should have happened. This picture is when you would have put the aluminum stick in at the very beginning. You have a light blue liquid that it's going into, and you should automatically see it start bubbling. And then these other pictures show you there's a brownish reddish color, something y'all always say rusting, but it's not really rust, forming on the aluminum wire. But this picture I like a lot, this third picture, because it's kind of blue down here, but as you move up here where all the copper is, well, I just told you what it is. The copper is, it's clear, or it's becoming clear. Okay, this is after it's been reacting for a while, and you can see how it started off blue and ends clear. So that might help with some of the analysis questions. Why did it become clear? What was forming? What made the solution blue to begin with? Okay, so that might help you with a couple of those questions. Now, with the observations of products for these two reactions, did a precipitate form? You need to figure out for each reaction, did a precipitate form? So once you have predicted the products, you need to think to yourself, would either one of these be that brownish, reddish precipitate that turned into a solid? And the supernatant, the liquid, what color is it? Well, I just told you it went from blue to clear. So you could put what color it is after the reaction's over. And were gases formed? Which one of these two reactions did the gas actually form? Because both of them were happening at the same time, but that doesn't mean both of them created the gas. Okay, and then of course you would do, was heat a reactant or product, and the type of reaction. Okay, I hope that helps kind of bring together this lab for anybody and help you answer those analysis questions.